Okay, let's bring up your cheat sheet here. Okay, so Fallout 4, you didn't search for your son once. You just kept doing side quests. Would you like to explain yourself?
You actively ignored the game every time it mentioned it. So can we talk more?
Yeah. In Mario 64, you threw a baby penguin off the side of a cliff.
This is too much data. I don't want any of this data out there. No way.
The adult beverages are poured, or soon will be. The kids are asleep. That completely threw me off the whole starting. I thought I was being clever and it didn't work.
Oh, no, it was good. They were both bored.
The adult beverages are soon to be poured. The kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old.
So as I tried to allude to in that disaster of an opening, it is time for New Dad Beer Pick of the Week, a summer tradition for us. I was waiting for your color commentary.
Oh yeah, no, I'm waiting to go. I have my beer in hand, ready to pop it.
You're like stop talking. Let me drink.
Talk about it. We've been talking about it for an hour before the show.
For new listeners to the show, as soon as the summer months hit here in Canada, we love nothing better than to explore our local liquor stores and find some interesting beers, some delicious beers, hopefully delicious beers, to sample and explain on the show. And we always really adore hearing from new dad gamers like yourself for what beers are you currently drinking, what's in your beer fridge, like what are you really liking that we might be able to try and review on the show. So, that fatherhood, barbecues, gaming, beers, it just all comes together so nicely.
It does, yeah. It's a perfect way to put it.
Now, undiscussed to you, Jeff, I want to throw you a bit of a curveball.
Oh, no.
And in some ways, in my mind, this is my advice to my future son of sort of a lesson that I had to learn around beers, friends, good times, sunny days, the whole bit.
Yep.
And it really comes down to Bud Light. Hold up a delicious can of Bud Light.
Okay, yes.
You know what? I don't know what your beer journey was, but I started drinking before I was supposed to, as many kids do. If my kids are listening, I'm lying.
Yeah.
But you start with your cheapest beer, plentiful beer. You don't really know what you're doing. You graduate up until you're finally legal. You kind of it's bang for the buck. You're finding the cheapest possible stuff. You're drinking it a whole lot. Yeah. You start to develop a taste, and you're starting to drink better tasting beer. You start to appreciate craft, perhaps, or maybe not. Like if you're still with those beers, that's great. I don't mean to put it, and that's actually the thrust of my story. Specifically, when I started to get a bit more into like craft beers or smaller breweries, I found I was kind of turning my nose up at Bud Lights, Coors, like all these other type of beers. And you know what? You want to know what the absolute best beer is?
Okay, hit me.
The cold beer you have.
Ooh, I like it.
Right?
Yeah.
So and I recently we were able to have a nice hangout with friends outside, barbecue and everything else, and they brought Bud Lights, and they tasted delicious. It was good times with good friends and drinks, and it didn't much matter. So I suppose what I'm saying, this is like future advice for my son, is just appreciate the finer things in life as you can, but never turn your nose up at anything else that everybody's enjoying, because it's really about that experience, that moment. Like, you do not need to be a beer snob.
No. And I thought you were going down a different path with that story.
Okay.
Just if you started the beer that you started with, and you probably ended with, just you don't want to see again. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you have an aversion to it.
Yeah.
And just quickly, mine was James Ready, because it was.
Oh wow! Yeah.
It was strong. It was like $1 a bottle, and I don't want to go back there. That is something I don't want to visit. So
I hear you. Yeah. There's. It's much like a whiskey or anything else. If you've ever had a really bad night with that particular choice, kind of hard to drip back in. But future advice for my son is just don't let your appreciation of smaller craft versions of anything ruin every day.
Yeah.
It's like, look, like the finest coffee will be great, but there's nothing wrong with a Dunkin' Donuts or Tim Hortons sometimes. And same with Bud Light or Coors.
That's right.
So being that as may, we're not necessarily going to be reviewing those beers on this show. So I am dying to know, Jeff, what beer have you chosen for this week to try?
Okay, well, it's kind of the opposite of Bud Light. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
Not quite. You don't know that.
Leather and Lazers Sour IPA.
Leather and Lazers Sour IPA. Could you do your best to describe what we're showing on screen?
Would you like me
I
to
dare you to describe what's on this can.
Okay, does everyone remember glamour shots? So when you got your school picture and you got to pick the background of your photo, everyone picked lasers. So this can has a laser background with a fine individual on the front that has actually I could actually model him maybe a little bit. It's got mullet coming down, so my hair's a little long. We've been locking down a little bit too long. And he's got the mutton chops coming in with some good facial hair and some shades. And he's just sitting there.
The blue leather sports jacket with the felt patch on the front. Looks like Blues champions from Walkerton.
Walkerton, yes.
I don't know if that's where the brewery is located.
It says Sarnia, so it's
close.
It's close-ish. I don't know.
Yeah, Leather and Lazers Sour IPA. I highly recommend everybody try to find a picture of this online. It is glorious.
Yeah, never mind the beer. Just find the picture of the beer, and live off that.
Right. Let's hear that glorious opening sound.
Okay, all right, ready?
There it is.
Okay, first impressions. Are we doing that?
Tell you what, you have a few sips there. I'm going to introduce mine, and then you can come back around. So for myself, I went one that's a bit more accessible. I actually had this the first time in Los Angeles. We're recording up here in Canada, so that means, in my mind, it's a pretty fair reach that they have. So this is Kona Brewing Big Wave Golden Ale.
Wow.
I've tended to like golden ales before, the few others that I've tried, and I seem to recall liking this quite a bit. So when I saw that in our local liquor store, it was a bit of excitement. Like, yeah, this is going to be excellent. So much so that I bought a 6-pack, so it better be good.
Wow. Yeah, you've committed, so.
Yeah, the rest of them were all one-offs for the rest of our summer of beers. But for this one, it's like, all right, I do know this one's pretty good, so I'm going to get the 6-pack. So Kona Brewing Co. Big Wave Golden Ale is mine. Now this is get the bottle opener here. I'm not sure that's going to sound as good. Yeah.
Oh,
hey.
That was good. That was glorious.
Let's listen to this audio drama happening here. So I'll go ahead and take some sips. Jeff, why don't you walk us through what you're tasting with your mullet beer?
Right. So with the Leather and Lazers, I'm not tasting leather or lasers, but
disappointed.
I haven't had too many sours. Since last year, I guess. So my taste is a little bit off, but it seems really easy going. Like it has a sour fizz to it at the tail end, but it's really easy to down. And that is kind of dangerous sitting at 6 and a bit percentage points on the alcohol scale. So, I could totally see sitting outside and just sipping this one on a hot summer day. Just to break from the pace of maybe another beer going on. I wouldn't have 2. I don't think I'd recommend 2, but that's kind of with sours too. It's
don't
kind
think
of break it up.
Can't do 2 in a row.
No, not with this guy looking at me anyway.
It's too intimidating. He's too cool.
I don't know. You might want to hide your recycling bin if you put it out at the side of the street.
So on my can here, or in my bottle, it says Liquid Aloha.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I could believe it. It's a bit of hops, but like very mild, very easy drinking, I would say. There's no real standout. So as in there's no citrus, there's no woodiness, there's no oatmeal to it. Like, it's just very much a standard ale, but in a great way, where it's kind of disappearing and just letting you enjoy it.
Nice.
So that's a very easy drink, and it's very tasty. We really would enjoy that.
I mean, the label looks like summer. It speaks summer to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the beer to have out in the patio with the barbecue going and friends over. So good choice.
So that concludes our first week of Beer Picks of the Week. Any gaming dads, if you are listening, want to reach out to us on Twitter @NewDadGaming and give us your current favorite drink of the summer, something you think we should try, something you really hate, you just want you want us to dunk on a little bit. Yeah, as I said, @NewDadGaming, hit us up for those beer picks. Now, the unfortunate segue I can make is that drinking can sometimes be associated with poor fatherhood choices.
Oh no. Yeah.
And we at this household here got thrown for a bit of a loop recently with a letter we received from Child Services.
Oh, I'm sure it's a good letter.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you
Great
are,
job.
yeah, exactly. Like a positive, like we have like looked up to you guys.
Yeah, this is just a letter to let you know you're doing great. Everything's going really well.
Can I stop for a second and say those letters are needed? I think every parent needs, especially in the beginning, just a letter
That'd
from
be
the
nice.
government saying, "Hey, you're doing a great job. Don't worry about it. Your kid will grow up just
Everybody,
fine.
everybody goes through this. Don't worry about
Just
it.
chill." Yeah.
The letter comes in, and we write to inform you that we were made aware of a scenario where you left your child unattended for an hour or more on the morning of such and such.
Oh no.
I will explain this story. That's
Okay.
not true, but let's walk through it. Accordingly, until the age of 12, your children should not be left unattended. Da 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 da. Like, as at this time, the case is open and the case is closed. Your name will be retained on the database. Should any other future thing goes, all the best, Child Services.
Wow. Okay. All the best. Was that
All the best. Yeah. Good luck out there. Great podcast, by the
yeah.
way.
Yeah, exactly. Plug it.
Big fan. Big fan of the show.
Yeah.
So the event did happen, kind of. So our kids in virtual school, we had to go pick up a van, like a moving van for something that was going on. Had this like short time window, had to happen. Kid is right in the middle of a class, and by the time you actually pick him up, get him into the seat, strap him, go, leave him while we hook up the trailer, it's a whole thing.
Yep.
So we informed the neighbor, hey, we're going out to pick up this. Kid's on virtual school in front of the screen. He'll be there for 20 minutes. Like, we'll be gone 20 minutes. We'll message you when we get back. If you don't hear from us, like, check in on him.
Right.
Just taking care of business. And then tell the son, okay, listen, we're heading out for a couple minutes. Got to go pick up a truck. We'll be right back.
Okay.
And the damn kid snitches on us.
Okay, it's not the neighbor though. The neighbor just didn't turn around and be
No.
like, "Okay, yeah, sure."
Yeah, right away. 911.
Yeah.
So the damn kid snitches on us. Like, Madame, my parents just left me and they went to get a van.
Oh my god.
It's
Oh, in
just-
virtual school, right? So yeah, it's immediate. Yeah.
The main teacher we know, and we have a really great relationship with her. Like, we've met a few times. Like, so that's been great. I think it was the PA, like the assistant,
Oh, okay.
who probably didn't really have a good context and just heard, oh, you've been abandoned by your parents for the sake of purchasing a van or like picking up a van. Oh, Child Services.
What are they putting in that van? Are there more kids in that van? What's
It's
going
Daryl again. I have another report for you. So,
on? Oh
but-
no.
God, and it's we're on their database forever now, just like as terrible parents. And go back in time, Jeff. Like, what were you doing when you were 6 years old?
Oh man, like I wasn't at home, that's for sure.
And did your parents have a slight idea where you were besides in town?
No, when they, they'll flick the outside lights on and off, or they'll come out and yell, and that was supposed to be the signal. But you would be nowhere near your house. We were actually in our own treehouse in the forest that we built by ourselves over a creek. So that wasn't the safest thing. But
And it's just, you wonder why. You'll often see these terrible headlines, and they bemoan the fact that people don't want to have kids. The terrible
right.
population crisis. Nobody wants to have kids. And then I receive a letter from Child Services because my kid was left alone, despite the fact that there was a neighbor made aware and like everything was fine. And I'm reading this letter. I'm telling you, like, the first thought I had is like, it is no wonder nobody wants to have kids. Like, we're just making it so hard on people.
yeah.
I appreciate the concern, and if it was a pattern or if like something would to happen, like how awful it would be.
Well, yeah.
In a sense that I can get it. I don't think it's crazy that series of events happened, but just receiving that letter from an official government agency on letterhead talking about, like, oh, you left them for this long, and like you got to be responsible. You got to take care of them until they're 12.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised it went that far. Usually, a teacher or an assistant would give the house a call maybe first. I mean,
Right.
like, because my kids have said a bunch of stuff to their teachers. And I'm sure if they took it all as like, that is, Bible, that is the truth, I would be in a lot of trouble because the stories they tell their teachers are completely embellished and fabricated beyond what actually happened. But you think like a quick phone call, or an email saying, hey, your kid says you've abandoned him.
Yeah.
Are you around, or what's going on, right?
Yeah, and they have both our cell in this modern day of cell phones. Like we would have been able to pick up and answer it.
Yeah,
It's like, oh,
immediately.
this happened. Neighbors aware. Ting, ting, ting. But it just went. So I tend to think it's somebody a little bit unaware of the context, being a bit overzealous.
Right.
But I'm telling you, it's just I have no question whatsoever why people don't want to have kids. It's like I get it. I totally get it.
I totally get it. And I have no question that your son's going to be a great storyteller. Like, he's going to sell anything he wants to sell. He's going to tell these stories, get people on his side. So watch out.
Well, the story you wouldn't have to sell me on, or something you wouldn't have to sell too hard on, would be me purchasing a Oculus Quest.
Oh
Oculus
my
Quest
God.
2. I'm back in VR, baby.
It was No Man's Sky, wasn't it? You just wanted to get back in there.
So I did kind of miss it, but the weird series of I had looked at the Oculus Quest. So I guess for context, for somebody kind of new listening, me and Jeff were massive supporters of VR, specifically with the PSVR. I was a day one purchaser, loved it, like huge fan of it, huge supporter of the platform. I think it's got legs. I hope it keeps going in the future.
Yeah.
Now, recently I sold my PlayStation, trying to ride the wave of when I could get the most money, and I'd gotten an Xbox. Okay, I can sell the PlayStation now, still make some money, eventually put that towards the PS5.
Right.
Great. That means I was PSVR-less, though. So my PSVR I lent to my brother, also has a PlayStation, he's playing it. I don't have any VR system. Not the end of the world, I got plenty of games, not a problem.
Yeah.
I did have a small yearning for it. I did look at...
I was about to say, there's an empty space that you're just, no, I need to fill it.
There's just a virtual hole in my heart.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I looked at when the Quest came out, it really looked appealing. There's something about the entirely detached unit, the whole, because with the PSVR, and I think we both kind of experienced it. I think you would admit it, much like I would, where the setup is bulky, right?
Yeah.
There's 4 cables. There is the camera that's got to be placed at the exact right angle. There is like the kind of lousy old Joy-Cons that they recycle with the ping pongs from back in the day, the Move controllers. So if you want to just pick up and get into VR, it's a bit much. Totally doable. You get your setup, but it's not very seamless, not very easy.
Right.
Right. And so there's something about the Quest and that new wave of VR where it's just strap it to your face, you're in VR, you're done. Like, check.
Yeah.
But I held off at a PSVR. And then I also saw there was a virtual desktop. So if you're... Right, so if you can connect to your computer, and then you can be on an island beach while this thing's strapped to your face, but you still have your monitors and browsers and everything else.
Right. Like you're in Minority Report or Star Trek or something. You're doing your regular work just on the beach, like virtually.
And then also notice that it actually functions as a full VR set that connects to your computer.
That is gold.
That is pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. So you get a powerful enough USB cable, USB-C, connects to the side, connects into your computer, right? And your computer is the engine for the VR, and then you can just purchase PC VR games. It just gets streamed to your headset, so it becomes like a dumb headset.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so all these things made me certainly like the system. It was tempting. Now the thing had sold out, could never really get a hold of it, and then a friend of mine came over, the same one with the Bud Light, actually.
Oh yeah.
Good friend. He brought his, played a few games, and it's like, well, there it is. I guess I'm buying a Oculus Quest 2.
See, that's how it starts. You did that to me. I remember borrowing your PSVR, and then all of a sudden, well, that's it. Got to find one.
Well, that's a shame. That's I have to purchase one now.
Yeah.
Jeff, please, no. Sorry, yeah. It's written in the stars. There's no way out of it.
That is selling it, though. Like, you do have to experience it. No 2D flat commercial gives you that experience. And I think we've talked about that. But, yeah, that's...
Yeah, it's one of the harder points. I think people who own VR do a better job of selling VR than any commercially done video ever would. So, it's been fantastic. It's just been an absolute blast. There's a lot of really interesting quality of life improvements where every time you put it on, because it is mobile... if it's a new space, like if it's moved around enough, it'll have you draw a guardrail. Oh, okay. So you touch the ground with your controller. It's like, okay, this is the floor. It does a pretty good job of guessing, but it just wants to verify.
Yep.
And then you say, okay, take your paddle and draw where it's safe for you to be running around. Right? So you draw a little square where it's good. And then if you ever get close, the VR disappears and you see the world. You see around it. It has cameras. So you can actually see the actual room in this kind of creepy black and white.
Wow.
Like staticky version. So like you can imagine like this wall represents virtual reality, and you poke your head through it.
Yeah.
And you're now looking through to the real world.
That's trippy. That sounds trippy.
It's pretty trippy. At one point, my wife was playing it, and she kept saying, like, what are these red lines? I can't see. She's playing Beat Saber. She's like, I can't see past the red lines. I'm trying to think. It's like, oh, wait. So I just had to, like, grab her and move her back.
Right.
It's like, no. Like,
you're out of the game. You're out of the world.
You're just too far. So there's a lot of where they've gone with it has been really interesting. So a lot of quality of life improvements like that. The sound actually just comes from like little speakers right on the side of your head, which again is really nice because and they're pretty high quality, honestly, like the bass and everything else, and it's stereo, so it gives you a good sense of like you can hook up an actual set of cans if you want a better immersive one. But all that's to say is why I would lean on that is that to me shows that it's really great for dads.
Okay.
Because a couple reasons.
Play kind of thing, like
exactly. Firstly, it takes nothing to set up, right? You just have it, you put it on your face, you are now in VR. It's not like 20 different cables, 30 different systems. Yeah. Slam, you're there. It works anywhere because you can just set the guardrails wherever you want. I mentioned the one thing where you can, if you get past the boundary, you can see the real world.
Yeah.
If you double tap on it quickly, the VR will just go away and you can just see around you.
Okay, that helps when the kid's on your ankle or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, kids come slamming in, this tap tap. Okay, now I'm in the real world again. I can just I can see it.
Child services, is that you? Hold on. You're after me in virtual and in real life. What's going on?
Child services calls up. It's like, I've understood that you've been putting on a VR helmet instead of interacting with your son. No, you don't understand. It has this pass-through effect where I'm able to double tap it, and I can totally see my son. Checkmate, child services.
Exactly. Safety feature.
Yeah, so but between the pick up and play, plays anywhere, no fuss, no muss, the ability to have the sound effects play on speakers as opposed to headphones, so that you're again kind of more actually connected to your space should your kid be yelling or child services banging on your door.
Right.
Kind of connected, the guardrails. Yeah, that's like all together. Like, it just ended up being such a great package that I was really excited to buy it, and I've been loving it so far.
So I have a thought.
Oh, I'd like to hear this.
And I'll put it towards you because I have no doubt that this technology is, pushing the medium forward. It sounds amazing. Again, wireless, the ability to hook it up to the computer and use it as a headset to play something like, Half-Life Alyx. That would be amazing.
Yep.
Just have that opportunity. I will say the Facebook part of it really puts a bullet in it for me. And I just with the recent news of them trying out ads, like they're going down that path, right? And you're like, well, how far are they going to go? And they say they're going to, hand off or like put off the gas a little bit on it and see how they can incorporate it. But then you just got to think like, okay, like they're going to start off slow, but they're going to ramp up quick, and you're going to be like Ready Player One with ads popping by your face or whatever. So
I'd be curious where they go with it. Where, so the Facebook thing, I'm really glad you brought it up. I did want to mention it. So with Oculus Quest 2, you have to have a Facebook account. Now you can of course set up a different one if you wanted to have like Trevor Faker Oculus 2 .dad, whatever you want.
Okay.
But that, that's a stretch, and it's problematic. So just go with it in the sense that you have to have a Facebook account to connect, which means this social giant that has not been the greatest partner and holder of our data now has ties into your system.
How does that work for kids though? Before you move on, can you put kids into it?
I think I saw in the so generally no, you're not supposed to have anyone under like 13 or 14 in it
because they can't sign off on a Facebook account.
I have not seen, so accordingly, I've not seen a kid mode. I have seen multiple accounts mentioned, although
Okay.
it's an experimental feature at this point. So, but I think that'd be more if like my wife wanted to have her own account, she could
Oh, okay.
log in with it, and then I would have to log into it. So in that case, I don't think there's anything really for kids at that point, unless they'd have a Facebook, or if you want to create a fake one. And I've seen in some of the forums for Oculus saying, "Hey, I'm setting up a fake account, Facebook
Oh,
account
really?
for my son, because they got it for their kid. Let's call him a 15-year-old.
Okay.
I got it for my kid. Like, what's what's the worst that can happen if I have a fake Facebook account?
Once you log in, it's free to hand off to whoever you want, though, right? Like, it's just creating that account if you want to track whatever games. But like, if you handed it to your kid, it wouldn't just like stop.
Oh, no. So I mean, my wife, like everybody, just uses it. Whoever,
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
as soon as I'm logged in, you can put a pin on it if you want to try to lock it down, but it seems a bit unnecessary. Generally, whoever's wearing it is just playing it and playing what games you have.
Okay. See, I thought it was like some sort of like retina scan, and they're like, "No,
Oh.
you're the wrong user. You have to buy your own, sucker." Like,
Not that far yet. I do wonder with the ads. I think what I'd be curious about to see if they could eventually leverage it so there's more free games. So
okay.
you can pay for this game, or if you have some ads in the banner, you watch like a video first, you can get this game for free. It could be interesting to try to help with some of the costs. Most of these games are ranging in about the $20 to $40 range.
Okay. Yep.
So for every one of these hits you're going to take, it's like it starts to add up. It's getting there.
If they work the ads into the game, I don't think I don't really care about that. I mean, Grand Theft Auto, and like the ads all over the billboards and stuff. When it's like a YouTube kind of thing, like, hey, you have to watch this, and it's in your eyeballs, and
That
like
would like.
it'll pause when you blink, like, like no, you have to watch this if you want to continue. That might be a little bit much, but I don't know. See where they go with it. Again looks like a fantastic piece of technology that you got your hands on. So
It's awesome. It's certainly it's something to be aware of. Absolutely. Like I think you're smart to point it out. I think some people, it's more about what they do, not where they currently are. In so much as if they do just start shoving, if I buy a game for $40 on this thing and then they just blast me with ads every time I show up, that's upsetting. Or if there's a leak of data, whatever else, other kind of nonsense happens that they want to pull. That would be upsetting for sure.
your face is going to be in like a GoldenEye recreation because they have your face data. They'll just be like, oh no, Trevor's face. Here you go.
Yeah. For the tracking stuff, I'm almost concerned sometimes how little I care in some small ways. I more think about my phone has a Facebook app on it. I check Facebook on my smartphone. That thing is in my pocket all day.
Yeah.
It's all with me. And that's like, not to mention Twitter, not to mention my email, everything, right? So when people get really uppity about, oh, like they're tracking me, they're not really that interested in you, right?
No. Yeah.
And you already have everything on social media already. Like you're posting constantly, like you have everything on your phone. So the big bad threat of a company tracking you in a headset like this, that doesn't scare me. I'd be scared about them screwing it up, ruining it.
Yeah. Well, and if child services were to just log in, they would know where you are because Facebook would tell them.
Yeah, so we gotta talk about some of these games you've been playing. Did you really need to murder like that many villagers? That doesn't seem very.
You played the evil character. Now, why did you choose that character over the peaceful character?
Yeah. Okay, let's bring up your cheat sheet here. Okay, so Fallout 4, you didn't search for your son once. You just kept doing side quests. Would you like to explain yourself?
You actively ignored the game every time it mentioned it. So can we talk more?
Yeah. In Mario 64, you threw a baby penguin off the side of a cliff.
This is too much data. I don't want any of this data out there. No way.
Yeah. Nintendo knows what you did.
Yeah.
Nintendo knows what you
Obviously
did.
They did. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a good way to wrap it up. Now, just by way of closure, you've been sipping on that beer for the entirety of the show.
Yeah.
How's it gone for you through the rest of it?
I really like Leather and Lazers. Again, I'm going to mention this name because it's fantastic. I love it. It's a really good sour IPA. And I don't have too much experience with them. My memory over like the last COVID year is pretty foggy. So this is one of two that I've had this year. It's really good. I absolutely recommend it if you can get past the face in the can.
Which you cannot.
Right. No. But what about you?
Yeah, and Big Wave Golden Ale from Kona Brewing has been wonderful throughout. So just smooth, nothing particularly of note, but in a very great fashion. So
Nice.
definitely recommend. Delicious beer. So start off beer, the summer beer, on a good note.
Win-win.
Absolutely. We will wrap it up there for the week, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. If you want to get a hold of us, you can find us on our website, newdadgaming.com. You could send us a message, you can submit a story, you can give us a beer pick that you have. Another way to do that is to find us on social, specifically Twitter and Instagram, Twitter especially, at New Dad Gaming. You want to send us game picks, similar stories from... Have you received a terrible letter from Child Services? Let's talk about that story. Ideally not. I prefer to hear your beer picks and maybe Oculus Quest 2 game recommendations for a busy dad. But reach out to us on Twitter at New Dad Gaming or our website, newdadgaming.com. If you like the podcast and you could subscribe, that would help us out an incredible amount. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, any of the major podcasting services. Just search for New Dad Gaming. A subscription, as I said, helps greatly, as well as comments, ratings, and passing along to other dads who drink, go into virtual reality, get messages from Child Services, and game.
That's right.
With all that in mind, thank you everybody so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. My name is Trevor, and I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old.
And my name's Jeff. I do not have an Oculus Quest yet, but I also have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old. And just because you became a dad
doesn't mean, it's game over.
That's right.
We kind of choked on that. Let's hit that one. Just like we started terribly. I botched the beginning.
We'll just end it like the...
No, we don't end with a whimper. Hit me one more time.
All right. And just because you became a dad
doesn't mean it's game over.